Good evening, gearheads, and welcome to your Sunday night with Speed City. This is John Massengale, and I am in the studio in Austin, Texas, and we have a fantastic show for you tonight. We have Jonathan Green down in New Zealand at the Formula Regional Oceania Championship, and he's got a guest with him tonight. And we also have an exclusive interview with some of the biggest news this week. Chloe Chambers going to the F1 Academy representing the Haas F1 team. An exclusive interview with her. We also have an exclusive with the Daytona 24 pole sitter, Pippo Durrani. Just got off the phone with him a few minutes ago. And we also have a guest from Circuit of the Americas. We have Brad Epstein, Bobby's brother, and he joined us a few minutes ago. We recorded that to talk about the T11 condos. Really fascinating stuff on that. You want to stay tuned for all of that. But we are going to start with Jonathan Green down in New Zealand because he has a guest with him.
And then,
Jonathan Green, introduce your guest.
yeah, I was just saying you must have overspent on the budget with all those high-profile stars. Yes, this is another high-profile star, 21-year-old Giles Motorsports Landon Matriano Lim. I'll get his name right. Number 739 for Giles Motorsport. He's wearing the team shirt, and he is in his first ever Toyota Racing Series, Formula Regional, as we call it down here. Formula Regional Oceania, and he's already had a season in F4 in the States, hoping to do the same and go up to FR in the States coming up.
Well, fantastic. How many Americans are down there? I mean, that's amazing how many you guys have got this year.
Yes, in Texas as well. We've got, what, five?
Yeah, five of us.
Five Americans, and we've also got Woods Toth, who's the current F4 champion from Canada.
Lots of North Americans down there tonight. So I say tonight for us. What is it? It's Monday afternoon for you guys.
Yep, we're ahead of time. We're ahead of time.
Just had lunch.
Just had lunch. But Landon got his first top 10 this weekend.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Landon, tell us about your career, how you got to this point, how long you've been racing.
I actually just started racing in professional series last year with F4 US, and the only experience I have prior is some club racing weekends with my dad.
Yeah, but I read that you are a competitive athlete already before racing, aren't you?
Very, very, yes. 10 plus years of competitive gymnastics behind me.
Okay. So when you found out that you wanted to become a race driver, you got to get some help. Who's helping you do this?
Well, it's actually just my dad. So we're trying to find some help along the way. But at the beginning of the career, it's very hard because I don't have the results to show. But I'm hoping everyone can see how fast I'm learning, how fast I'm advancing with my progress, and that I'll carry that on.
Well, but you've got a consultant helping you, don't you?
My good old parents.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Wow.
Well, no, you start in Dallas, Texas, that he's worked with. Tell us about that.
Rapscallion Motorsports. They're based in Austin, Texas, at a racetrack there, and so I had a bit of fun with them in the World Racing League all throughout America. Raced at Road America, Hallett Motor Raceway, and Circuit of the Americas at the end of the year. So great taste with them, and they've really been amazing help getting me into not only more of the racing scene, but different ones to Formula as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Jonathan, catch us up on what's going on down there, because I know you guys just kicked off. How many races have you all had? Two?
We've had 3 races in all. Each weekend is 3 races. Race 1, race 2, a reverse top 8. And then the feature race, which we race for the Denny Hulme Memorial Trophy this weekend. Straight out of the bag, there's a young Brit come Polish driver called Roman Belinsky, who has blitzed, quite literally, the rest of the field by winning 2 of the races. And the other race was won by Chinese driver Gerard Ji, and who had put it on a great performance. He's the F4 China champion. But Belinsky has been the man of the moment. And even though Christian Mansell of Australia took 2 pole positions for both qualifying sessions, he came up short in terms of against Belinsky. But it's still wide open yet. But 3 races in, and this man got his top 10. and has definitely had some good experiences. But for him, it's not about winning. It's about learning, and it's about getting ready for the American season ahead.
Okay, you just said to a young race driver who's been in competitive sports for a decade that it's not about winning yet. I know that he wants to win.
Yeah, he's going to argue that. Go on.
Yes, of course, everyone wants good results. But with the start of my career being here, this whole series, this 5 straight weeks of racing for me is to develop, come out 110% a better driver. That way I can come back to the US and then have some serious results.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you know there's been a handful, maybe a name or two you might have heard that have come through that Toyota series. Just a handful of just mediocre drivers like Lando Norris and Lance Stroll, just a few guys like that.
You know, 5 of the current 20 drivers in Formula One have all been through the Toyota Racing Series. Pretty impressive, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to make a nice little
That's a quarter of the field.
That's a nice segue, guys, because our next guest, who we caught up with about an hour or two ago, also went through the Toyota Racing Series, Pippo Durrani. And we caught up with him after his pole position run this morning out at Daytona, and really excited for him. He's in the Cadillac, the new hybrid. So let's hear from Pippo Durrani. All right, Gearheads, we're super excited to have our guest. We got Pippo Durrani fresh off the pole for Daytona. Pippo, welcome to Speed City. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that looked exciting, and I'm sitting here looking at a picture of the car. It is a gorgeous looking Cadillac, and you were fast today.
Yeah, it was. I have to agree. The car looks great, and it was a pleasure to take it to its limit. Obviously, we only get to do that when it's qualifying time with low fuel, and you put everything on the line, and you get to experience the car at its best. So I'm really happy to be starting Daytona on pole. But I think the best of it all is just the feeling you get from driving the Cadillac GTP V-Series R. It's amazing. So hard to describe, but yeah, really happy with the result today.
Well, this is the way to start off after a championship, isn't it? Maybe, in the right direction to repeat.
Yes, well, it's early days. Obviously, it doesn't mean much for the result of the race, but it gives us hope that our car is quick and that we can start the year with the right foot. I guess the first qualifying, it's already the beginning of the year, so we did start with the right foot. But it's such a long race, big event, and there's so much that can go on during a season. But again, always great to be at the front for our sponsors, for our team, and obviously to show that Cadillac has done a phenomenal job with the car and over the winter, and us as a team as well, to try and improve and check the boxes that we hoped we would to improve for 2024. And it gives us great confidence that we are on the right way.
Well, I was watching today and looking at the flags. The wind looked crazy strong. How bad was it out there?
Quite honestly, not too bad. I think the wind was headwind into the bus stop, which normally a tricky corner to do when it's windy, but it was blowing exactly right in front of the car, which in a way helped a little bit. But yeah, those cars being so aerodynamically dependent, you have a tendency to be disturbed by a lot of wind. But luckily today the wind was blowing on the right direction, which didn't upset us as much as we thought it could.
Well, this is the second year of these new hybrid cars, and are you feeling a little more settled in with the car? And I know that the real heavy lifting on the hybrid side is the engineers, but I'm sure it's for you guys behind the wheel getting used to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a complex race car when you have to merge the hybrid with a normal combustion engine, and how does that integrate into all the braking systems and so on. It makes our lives as drivers a bit more complicated, because you don't have the same feel as you would with a normal mechanical race car. So a lot has been learned over the last year, and starting 2024 with a lot more knowledge, and what we want from the car certainly helps us as drivers to achieve better results with the car. So I think everyone is more or less on the same boat. It has been a complicated first season for everybody, trying to maximize what the package that they have. And it wasn't different to us. And I think we are, like I said, we are on the right way here.
Well, obviously, you guys are figuring it out because you guys just set a track record. You're over a second faster than the track record.
Yeah, I tend to look at that a bit in a different way. Obviously, well, it's a different era. It's I think the lap record was back with the DPI and now going quicker, which means technology is evolving. The cars are getting quicker and so on. If it's a second, 2 seconds, or a tenth quicker, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we did the best that we could today to put the car on pole, and obviously it's great to be going quicker every year, but there's certainly a limit to that. Let's put it that way. That it's not decided by us, but yeah, happy to show that the progression from the previous race car to this car, it's in a way paying big dividends in terms of lap time, because it's what we are here for. We're developing the technology. We're developing what eventually people are going to have on the road, and if you're quicker, then it means we are on the right path.
Well, look, I know you guys love it, but the fans, the gearheads, we love to see the technology moving forward and want to see all that trickle down to the road cars. You know, it's funny, Pippo, I actually test drove a Cadillac CT5 with the 6-speed manual yesterday, and oh my gosh, that was an amazing car. But wouldn't it be nice to have that a little hybrid drivetrain added on top of that? It would be incredible.
Yeah, it definitely would. It would make your acceleration out of the corner or out of the stoplight even quicker. But yeah, hopefully soon the technology that we are developing here will be available to everyone. So keep your eye out for Cadillac. We are certainly doing our best here. We're on the right way, on the right path, and we're here for that. So hopefully everyone get to experience what I just did today, and have as much fun as I did today.
Well, Pippo, I know you got a lot of people to talk to. We really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys. Thank you.
I did not know that we were going to have a Cadillac driver on the show, Jonathan, but I did actually stop over and test drove a new Cadillac with a 6-speed in it and was drooling really badly over that. And man, what a slick. You know what was crazy about it, Jonathan? It felt very analog. And I know that's insane to say. This is a 2022 car, and it felt very analog. In other words, Cadillac got that right, because a lot of the car manufacturers, when you drive their stick shift, they feel like the computer's controlling it. It was really a fun car to drive. But Landon, you were on the same team as Pippo Durrani, but 10 years apart, it sounds like.
Yes, that's what I've heard. So I'm so excited to be part of such a good team with a good background. You know? Great thing to build from.
Yeah. All right, guys. We are going to roll right into our next interview because Jonathan and I got to catch up with Brad Epstein. The name sounds familiar. His brother Bobby is the president out at COTA, but Brad is in charge of the Turn 11 condos, and so we're going to go straight into that now. Let's hear from Brad Epstein. And very excited to have our next guest on the line with us. We have Brad Epstein from T11 Condos at Circuit of the Americas. Brad, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me as well. I don't. I try not to celebrate the birthdays anymore, but oh well.
Yeah, well, you know, your buddies are probably wanting to celebrate it more than you, so that's what works. So
True.
Yeah, we're really excited about these car condos. T11 car condos is a project that I've been keeping an eye on, and every time I drive out to COTA, I see a little more activity out there. How's it going?
It's going great. Yes, thank you for keeping an eye on. In fact, I myself get excited every day that I get out there. We started very slow, as everyone knows. Getting permits and so forth took a little longer than expected or wanted, but now we have 9 of our phase one buildings coming out of the ground. So they're all in various stages at the moment, which is super exciting every day. And to see more and more workers out there, we're getting to a stage right now where we can see that probably mid to late spring, the core and shells of the metal buildings will be ready for finish outs. So hopefully even be able to move people in come midsummer.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that fast. That's great. Do you have? I know there's various sizes. Are you going to have all of the sizes available pretty quick?
We are, in fact. So we do have 5 sizes, everything from a medium to an extra large, 1,500 feet, all the way to 6,000 feet. 4 to 6 cars up to 18 to 20, 24 cars that can be stored in these. So each size will be well represented in phase one.
Well, that's really cool, and I love the fact you've got all these different sizes for every, different sizes for different needs and budgets, right?
For sure, definitely the different budgets. And the more I do my research, I'm actually finding out that the price tag of entry seems high, but it's really not, especially compared to others. In fact, you add in all the amenities that COTA has and that you can stay overnight in our condos, which is a big deal that not a lot of people actually realize. You can come for one of the races, stay all weekend, the few nights, come for a concert. We have 25, 30 concerts every year out at COTA in the amphitheater and around the campus. You can stay with your buddies, meet other people in the community and stay overnight, do dinner in one, and after the concert, drinks in another.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Keep you off the road if you've had a drink or two. But well,
sure.
What are the prices? Where do they start for those 1,500 square foot ones?
So the entry for the core and shell is about $465,000. That gives you the insulated metal building with a working air handler, up to $2.3 million for the 6,000 square feet. Then plus finish out if you choose. We do have several people that want to finish it out themselves for various reasons, or maybe they'll just use it to work on a car and truly not finish it out, but more than maybe a working sink and bathroom in it. Huh. So you can do anything you want virtually in these. The lowest price finished out starts at about round numbers, 750,000 up to 3.2 million.
Okay, so you guys can do the finish out for them, or they can just buy the shell and do their own finish out with their contractor.
Exactly right. We already have the permits to be able to finish out. We have 4 options to choose from with the finish outs, and we feel that they're very reasonably priced, or just, yes, like you said, do it yourself, which is no problem to us as well.
And let's just looking at the 1,500 square foot one. How many cars would fit in that one?
Approximately 4 to 6, depends on obviously your size of cars, how open you want your doors. The garage itself is 1,000 square feet below. 500 square feet is the mezzanine above. That will have a full bathroom, kitchen, living area. So the downstairs in your garage itself with those 4 to 6 cars, I actually did it myself for fun one day in a parking lot, just kind of measured parking spaces. And I'm like, you really can get 5, 6. You can probably squeeze even a little more depending on the angles that you put them at.
Okay, so let's say that it's track day and I am ready to take my car out to the track. I lift my garage door. What do you just zip down COTA Boulevard to the tunnel number 2? Is that how you do it, or?
You could, but in fact, for the community owners, we are building a straight shot from the community to the back straight. So we will have a newly paved, especially for the low cars, so that they don't have to go out on Dakota Boulevard or don't need to get lifted into a trailer. You can just have a straight shot from the back of the community right out onto the track.
That's fantastic. I don't know why I didn't realize that you were going to do that. That's a big difference. That's huge. And yes, most everybody's going to have a super low car, and they're not going to want to get out on COTA Boulevard.
I would think so. Yes. Some people have asked, can they bring their trucks? I said, you can bring anything you want out onto the track. It's up to you. For ownership, you do get 2 track weekends designated by COTA per year that you get to bring out. So it'll be kind of like a club event, but just for the owners, and they'll get to put any car that they want on the track at various times throughout that weekend, twice a year.
Yeah, but there's plenty of track days out at COTA year round. It seems like I don't have the calendar up, but it seems like there's a lot of them, isn't there?
No, you're right. And people ask me, how do I get more time? There are many options. In fact, there are other clubs. You could do Porsche Club of America. There are a lot of people that rent it out at various different times, and you can join those for fairly inexpensive. We also have started an evening program now that not many people know about, that for a very reasonably priced per hour, you can rent the track out. And if you divide it with 2 or 3 or 4 buddies, you'll probably go through more tires and brakes than you will the cost of the hourly of the track.
All right, I got a question for you. So what about, I'm assuming you can bring in your lifts, any sort of lifts you want, and any sort of equipment that you want. Have you got like 220 and all those kinds of things?
So you do have the capability to put a lift in, which obviously can double or triple your capacity of cars. Because the ceiling height is so high, we've measured that you could put a triple lift in there if you chose. Wow. So you could lift them up. They would be pretty cool to be at the level of the mezzanine too, so that you're looking right at your baby right there in front of you while you're having dinner or whatever. It'd be pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. And as far as equipment, really, whatever you can fit in there, right? There's no restrictions or anything like that.
No restrictions. We just are not allowing any retail business to be run out of there for obvious reasons, and no short-term rentals. We just don't want people that aren't known to be in there for one night and looking in the windows of other people's private collections.
Oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And I do like the fact that you said that you can spend the night, but it's not a residence. You're not going to be able to just live there.
That's correct. You cannot, by rule, you cannot live there as your homestead, your permanent residence. But please, we are encouraging everyone to come and stay, make friends, make reservations to come, with each other to any event during the year. COTA is a 365-day-a-year event complex that a lot of people don't realize. We will have a full-time amusement park with about 34 rides within the next couple of years. The concerts, like I mentioned, the go-kart track, there's all kinds of things that are happening, and COTA is expanding year by year.
Well, we've all been dreaming of what you are building right now, because that is the gearhead dream, is to have a condo on Circuit of the Americas. Well, Jonathan Green has joined us. Jonathan, what do you have for Mr. Epstein?
Yeah, hi Brad. I'm delighted for you and really excited to see the real thing in action. Hopefully get out there and sample some of your wares, or at least have a look around if you've got a show condo. And obviously we can help promote it for you as well. We could do our show from there even. But I'm down in New Zealand at the moment, and this was actually the home of this concept a few years ago. Not that they invented it, but Hampton Downs here in New Zealand and Highlands Motorsport Park, both owned by Tony Quinn, an Australian entrepreneur, did this idea a few years ago. He has condos that have living ability. You can live there if you want, with your garage underneath. And that's true of both places. And I just wonder what research perhaps you've done into how other people do it. And one of the main attractions for the effectively well-to-do down here is the fact that they get so much track time to get their favorite car out on track. How have you worked with your brother to kind of work that in to this offering?
So the ownership group, and first of all, thanks for rubbing it and making jealous that you're in New Zealand, because that's a dream of mine. So hopefully,
well, you're very welcome. Come down anytime.
Thank you. I will take you up on that. When you buy your condo, I'll come and visit you, down there. But no, so we do have 2 track weekends designated a year. They're designated by COTA, which 2 weekends of the year specifically for these condo owners to get on the track with whatever cars they would like. They get 1 plus a guest. So 2 people per condo. So there won't be that many people on track during the weekend, and it will be spread out, obviously, like a lot of these clubs where it's your ability to drive and the type of car, so that they'll be grouped together. There's a lot of other opportunities to be on track though as well. We have evening hours to be able to rent out the track, which is a new program that is going, my opinion, is going to take off really quick, because the cost is actually not too prohibitive. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities to be on track.
And would there down in the future perhaps be an opportunity down by Turn 11 where the condos are to maybe build a sort of, if you like, a preeminent grandstand at 11 just for those owners and their friends and family?
So I appreciate that question. During F1, we already are going to have a platform covered platform that's just for the ownership group. They can come and go as they like. They get a few wristbands for guests as well. I have a feeling that it will turn into a permanent at different races type of thing for people. As far as a clubhouse, we have a clubhouse and a pool in the community for everyone to hang out just for the owners and their guests. There may become a members clubhouse trackside as well someday.
So Brad, if you say you might have some going as soon as this summer, are people, do they need to get in touch with you quickly? Are they selling out quickly? What's it looking like?
Great question. They are actually. In fact, we just put up this week on the website. We split the community in phase 1, phase 2. It's not an if there's going to be a phase 2. It's a when. We decided to do that so we could concentrate and get a lot of these ready for this year's F1 and this summer. So we're concentrating on our phase 1. We just put the availability map up on the website this week that shows those that are closed and those that have contracts out, either in various stages. They're either signed, ready to be signed, and we are 60+% spoken for in phase 1. This weekend, we actually had about 5 showings, 2 of which asked us to send them contracts already. So it's going really fast. I think phase 1 will be sold out before the corn shells are ready this spring.
Wow, I'm looking at the map. Yeah, I see a bunch of them already sold. Are most of them, are they individually bought? Or they bought? I know you said you can't run a retail business out of there, but are there corporates also buying them?
There are, I'd say it's mostly individuals, a couple fathers, sons. There are some trusts, I guess, that is a family that is buying it together. Right now, we don't have too many corporations out of it. We do have a couple that are representing a corporation, and I'm sure that they will be excited on who they get to meet and become their friends, but no companies because of the no retail at the moment. We are going to be building a separate building right outside of the community that will be, as I call it, the working garages. You'll have a wrap guy, the tire guy, the mechanics, those car wash, those type of people will be in garages just outside, not only to help COTA, but specifically in mind for the community as well. Get their cars ready, keep them. A lot of the community is worldwide, actually, and out of town. I would say at least half is from out of town, and therefore they need people to take care of their cars to prepare them when they come.
Oh, that's very cool.
An interesting point. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Brad, because, we're good friends with S's here in town with Dave O'Neill. And of course, they actually did the preparation for Haas for their Formula One upgrades for the Formula One race. And I'm thinking ahead now, 5-10 years down the road, I think a mini industry on your complex, because there's still a lot of land. And I'm thinking, where the old X Games dirt track was, places like that, you still got plenty of space. And like you say, some simple prefab stuff to help those guys have a sort of adjunct to what they're doing, and their own factories and places. I mean, Esses is in Buda, and it's a fair distance. So if they had a setup there, maybe there's a place for Sims, maybe, or I'm just thinking out loud.
No, absolutely. You're exactly right. There will be room for people like that to get into this building that I'm talking about in particular, and I'm sure there will be others to come. And in fact, where you're talking about the dirt track down off of Magangas, there's probably a good probability there will be a golf course coming there within the next couple of years as well. So there's going to be a lot at COTA to bring people, and we are only building approximately, the round numbers, 150 of these units. We don't plan on having a phase 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. So when these are gone, they're gone. They're only going to go up in value with all the other attractions that will be on the COTA campus.
And this is off topic, and you may not be at liberty to say, but is there still interest in a potential hotel on site or next to?
I would say yes. I would definitely say there's definitely an interest for sure.
Right.
It's finally all coming together. We've been waiting for all of this for so many years, Brad. This is amazing. And Brad, Jonathan, you joined us late, but Brad is literally in the parking lot about to be taken to dinner by all his buddies so we don't want to hold him up too much longer.
Okay.
But Brad, is there anything else that we missed that you want to talk about?
No, I really think that we covered a lot, and I really appreciate y'all's time and support. And I'll be expecting you to choose your unit number this week and send your deposit in. We're ready for you. And then we can do the show anytime you want.
Well, that's great. I appreciate the 50% discount. We'll get the check in the mail.
Done. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time.
Brad,
Good luck
thanks
with
a
the
lot.
rest of the project. Keep us informed.
Will do. Talk to you soon.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited about this coming to Austin. And we're going to talk to Jonathan and our guest just a few minutes after this quick 60-second break. You're listening to Sunday Night with Speed City. Back after this. All right, we're still live on YouTube, boys and girls. Jonathan, how's your internet connection now?
I think it's all right.
Yeah.
How do we see it?
Yeah, it sounds good. Actually, you got all the right bars and everything. And yeah, so Landon?
That's really going to that's really going to transform Coda, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's huge, man. You know, it's kind of the first step to all the things when they first announced Coda, it was going to be hotels and businesses everywhere, and of course these kinds of condos. But it just took a little while. It took a little drive to survive to make it all happen.
What about the other ones building on the other side, Condos of America or whatever they're called?
Coda Garages or Garages of Texas or something like that. There was a couple of them actually, but I don't know the status of those. But I mean, you saw the map and you heard him. They're 60% sold out already of phase one.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming back.
That's great.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back to your Sunday Night with Speed City. John Massengill here in Austin, Jonathan Green down in New Zealand, and our guest, young race driver Landon Matriano Lim. And Landon, I wanted to talk to you a little bit because you're right in the beginning stages of your career, and the fact that you are in New Zealand at this Toyota Series, to me, that shows that you're taking this very seriously.
Absolutely. There's no time to play around. And that's especially why I'm part of the series, because there's so many guys here that are coming into their third season of FR or F3 now. And so especially being introduced to this so early, I can learn from these guys directly. These guys have years of experience. They've been in it. So for me to be able to use them as a benchmark so early on and being able to catch them in places where I can so early on, I think it's the best learning curve I can.
Well, like Jonathan loves to say, is that you get a whole season in what, 5 weeks?
5 straight weeks of racing. Yes, we'll be at the track from Wednesday to Sunday, and we have 3 races over the weekend. We have 2 qualifyings. We have 1 Saturday and 1 Sunday, and 1 race Saturday and 2 races Sunday.
So that's 3,500K of track time, which is unheard of in any series. Formula One don't get that kind of testing. And just to give you an example, John, Giles Motorsport, who Landon races for, Stephen Giles was Mika Häkkinen's chief engineer in his World Championship winning.
That's awesome. Well, also, our next guest also came through Toyota Racing Series, right, Jonathan?
She did. This time last year here in Topor, young Chloe Chambers from the USA, from New York, won the first ever race by a female in an FIA Formula Regional race in race 2 here last year.
That is
Also,
great. And, this is...
And with Giles Motorsport as well.
Oh, yeah,
Same
also
team.
with Giles. That's awesome. Well, this was probably some of the biggest news, if not the biggest news this week, that she was going to represent the Haas F1 team. Man, Haas is dominating the offseason. I know we had the reveal of the McLaren car, and Andy P is probably glaring at me over the internet about saying that that's not the biggest news. But it is the livery. It's not the car, and it was awesome. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I do want to go straight into this interview that you did with Chloe. Jonathan, talk about that and just kind of, and then we'll roll right into it.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the timing couldn't be more perfect. The bombshell over Christmas was losing Gunter Steiner, such a big character. She talks to that. But interestingly, Io, because she's from Asian heritage, as is this man. She was an adopted Chinese kid by a Texan and a Brit. And so it's a great story. And funnily enough, Io, who's taken over the Japanese new head of Haas, has two daughters that kart. So there's a nice little synergy between the two of them as well.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from Chloe Chambers.
Well, on behalf of the Toyota Racing Formula Regional Oceania Series, we are delighted to welcome Chloe Chambers, one of our graduates, and in fact, the first ever female to win an FIA Formula Regional race right here in Taupo in New Zealand this time last year. And she's got some big news again, and we are delighted with that news that she's joining the Formula One Academy and will be representing the Haas Formula One team in those colors. Congratulations, Chloe.
Yeah, thank you.
How did this all come about? And tell us a little bit about the story.
Yeah, so I had kind of tried to pursue F1 Academy this time last year, actually. And unfortunately, I was a little bit too late on getting things going for that. So I ended up missing out on the 2023 season of F1 Academy, which was its first season. So I ended up going off and doing some sports car racing in the States, did very well in that. And then sort of in the middle of the year, we sort of started going back and thinking maybe we should try to go back into F1 Academy again, because the opportunities that it can bring are massive, and especially with in 2024 them changing it to be on Formula One race weekends as well as live streamed on all the Formula One channels. It just opens a lot more doors that weren't really there in 2023. So I pushed really hard to get into it for this year, went out to Spain to do some testing with the teams, and just tried to kind of show myself to the teams so that they at least were aware of me and that I was trying to pursue it. And ultimately, we kind of got into talks with A14 management, who is now managing me, and they were a big help because they have so many connections over in Europe that my dad and I don't have. And so they helped a lot with getting everything sorted for me. And I ended up getting paired with Haas F1 Team, which obviously makes a lot of sense. It's the only American Formula One team on the grid, and I'm an American driver, so that pairing really just made sense with me. And obviously, who would say no to being partnered with a Formula One team? So I graciously accepted their offer, and then I'll be racing with Campos Racing at 7 of the Formula One race weekends this year.
And have you met your teammate?
Yeah, so when I was in Spain, actually, I did end up testing with one of my teammates, and then the third teammate is not announced, so I can't really say anything about that.
Okay. But how about the timing too? I mean, obviously there's big news with Gunter Steiner moving aside, but I think it's kind of nice that I saw a nice picture of you and Io the other day. He's got daughters who race too, so there's a nice little crossover there.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, Gunter was such a face and like a personality, especially from Drive to Survive. So, I've kind of seen a lot of the comments saying, "Oh, we want Gunter back," but also you have to think about it from the perspective of the team. They did a really good interview with Gene Haas on F1 with Lawrence Barretto, and basically the way that he said it is that it was time for a change in kind of the higher tiers of the team, because the team had finished last place in the Constructors' Championship 2 out of the last 3 years. And so it really does make sense to change something around with the team to try to figure out what the problem is. So, as much as Gunther is a really cool personality, very funny, I think it'll be good for Haas in the long run.
What about tell us about the season, because I know that you're going to be racing Miami, but tell us about, for your fans, the Formula Academy series and how big that will be in terms of experience for you.
Yeah, so we go to 7 of the Formula One race weekends. So the first race is in Jeddah. I don't have the calendar fully memorized, but I do know all of the races. So the first race is in Jeddah, and then we race in Miami, Barcelona, Zandvoort, Singapore, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. So kind of looking at that schedule, there are only 2 races in Europe. And the majority of the other races will be tracks that none of us have driven on before. So kind of evening the playing field a little bit there, will be, it'll make it a lot more of a race. I expect everybody to be a lot closer in times, and just the racing in general to be really good. But yeah, for a driver's perspective though, having to learn so many tracks in the year, and especially with it being on the Formula One race weekends, and having all of the buzz that happens during those weekends, will be a new experience for a lot of drivers. I did W Series, of course, so I was at Formula One race weekends racing, so I do kind of understand how it works. But with F1 Academy, you get so much more track time, so I think in the end, the times will be a lot closer than they were in W Series. And of course, with all the cars being equal, it'll make the racing really good. But much like what it was in New Zealand, you have to be able to learn the tracks quickly. Even though you have that extra track time, it's still a challenge to try to learn the tracks quickly before qualifying.
And do you know if you will be able to also integrate yourself into learning more about the F1 team? Will you be able to be, when you're not racing, around on the headphones perhaps? Is that part of your learning experience?
Yeah, so part of my deal with Haas is that I will get to experience kind of the inside of the team on a race weekend. I'll be at the tracks during the F1 race weekends where I am racing, but I will also have the opportunity to go to a few of the other races where I won't be racing, so I'll be able to kind of be with the team throughout the entire weekend, and sit in on driver debriefs, watch the on-track action with the engineers, kind of just immerse myself so that I understand kind of how it works.
And what are you excited about? Obviously, they've got 2 great drivers. You've been around Formula One, as you say, as part of the W Series, but this is a huge opportunity for your learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to, being so close to Formula One, being able to sit in the garage and watch the sessions, being able to sit in on debriefs and hear sort of what everyone is saying during those debriefs, how the drivers are giving feedback and how the engineers are responding to that. Just kind of stuff that's kind of at a higher level than what I am now. It'll be, for the most part, familiar. It'll be similar to sort of what we do, but obviously in Formula One, everything is on a much bigger scale. So being able to kind of experience that and be in that environment before actually being in Formula One, being thrown into the deep end, that'll be a lot of experience that I couldn't gain anywhere else, really.
When I met you this time last year, it was great because we were joking a little bit. We were talking to one of your mechanics, Lou, who, by the way, is delighted for you. And we were saying that it was kind of neat that she was working on your car, because still there wasn't that many women involved in motorsport. I'm glad to say there's 3 or 4 mechanics and engineers, if not, actually, I might go as high as 6 this year. But just take me back to Taupo this time last year, and tell everybody how important to your career that race 2 win was from pole position.
Yeah, that race win was, super, super special. Something I won't ever forget, and probably my biggest racing accomplishment to this day, something I'm proud of. And I know Lulu is too. Um, but yeah, I think it definitely kind of showed that women can compete at a high level with the men, I guess you could say, in mixed categories, that it's possible. And, you know, I think for myself, it just built a lot of my confidence up as well, kind of going into the racing season for that year. Obviously, I ended up making a switch into sports cars, but you know, I think it helped my confidence in anything that I ended up racing that year. And I just, especially with it being the last race weekend of the season, it showed my progression throughout the season, and especially because we got so much track time that I had never had before. It showed how important getting track time was, and in your development as a driver.
Well, the man you beat that day is racing and is one of the favorites this season. That's Caleb Nartoa, and he too sends his regards and wishes you well, because obviously you held him off for the entire race this time last year.
I'm excited to see how he does this year. Obviously it's his first full season. So, yeah, I think Caleb's a great guy, great driver, and I'm excited to be watching.
Well, Chloe, as I said, we in the Toyota fraternity wish you well, and we're delighted with the news. It's great for us. It's fantastic for you. What ambitions are you setting then for the Academy series?
Yeah, so for this year, really the goal is to obviously take in all the new experiences that are going to come this year and develop as a driver, come out of the year with more knowledge. I think for sure from testing, top 5 is doable. Testing really helped me kind of gauge myself a bit, figure out where I was after not driving an open wheel car for 8 months or so. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident, and especially with all of the testing days that we have before the race weekends and all the prep that goes into the race weekends as well. I think I have a really, really good shot at getting a top 5 finish in the championship.
Well, listen, we hope you do that. And as you know, on my radio show, Speed City, we've had a mantra since we began back in 2012, which was we needed a Formula One circuit. We needed a Formula One team. We've got the Formula One circuit at COTA. We've got the Formula One team at Haas. But we wanted an American driver to win for us. So you are going to have to be the first Haas winner for America. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was something that my parents and I had kind of joked about, because we were like, Haas has never actually gotten a win before. So, if I can get in F1 Academy, I think that'll be a pretty special thing with the team, and especially for me as well.
Well, listen, all the women in motorsport are behind you, all of the Haas fans in America are behind you, and everybody here in New Zealand and around the world wishes you well. Congratulations, Chloe Chambers. We will be watching from the get-go here in 2024. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Jonathan, that was a really good question about maybe being the first winner in a Haas car. That's good.
I thought she might duck it, because that's a lot of pressure to put on a young lady's shoulders. But she took it and giggled, and she said she'd been talking about it. So I'm really happy for her. And I'll tell you, she's got every chance of winning in the F1 Academy. She's got more experience than most of the people racing, except perhaps Abby Pulling. Her teammate, I think, is going to be useful. I think she's got 2 teammates that we also announced, Bustamante. As well, yeah. And Matriano Lim, another Filipino Chinese name. So there's a lot of connections here, and I think Bustamante, as we saw when she came last time out, is going to be good. But I think Chloe's got a chance at every chance of winning for Haas.
Absolutely. Well, and wasn't she Jamie Chadwick's teammate in the W Series?
She was. She exactly was.
I mean, Jamie was incredible in that series. Obviously, she just dominated. So some more good learning there. But I want to ask Landon a question. Landon, I mean, the fact that maybe the biggest story in international motorsports, let's say outside of Daytona happening this week, this may have been it, right? With Chloe Chambers joining the F1 Academy with representing Haas. And she's a graduate of where you are right now. It's just another example of how powerful this series is where you're at. It's got to be exciting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be a part of the same team that she was as well. This team just has such background. And even this first week, I've seen how well I work with this team, how amazing these guys are, and how much they'll do to get me out there and be where I need to be. So I think developmentally, this is exactly where I need to be, and I'm really happy about that.
All right. Well, so what do you guys think about Jonathan? Let's start with you. What do you think about the Formula One Academy versus the W Series? Obviously, the W Series did not work out. And what do you think about? I mean, look, obviously we've got the power of Formula One behind it, right? So that's a huge advantage. But I mean, what do you think about the whole philosophy and everything else about the way they're going about this all-female series?
I think the best way I can put it is it's a good heart film for this era of women in motorsport. The world is changing. Finally, the world of motorsport has woken up to women. We've got a team manager here who is a female. She runs M2 competition with her husband, but she's in charge in Europe. Her and Jonathan Moria own the company. We've got 6 or 7 female mechanics and engineers, and that's a change. About she mentioned her mechanic Lulu. She's still here at Giles, and I noticed that Kiwi Motorsport have several women involved as well. So that, the world is changing. Do I like the idea of an academy series? I don't mind it. I want to see more women in motorsport. I've been a big proponent of this, but every woman, including Chloe, I've spoken to, would rather race against the men, as she did last year against Caleb, and won. Because that's the big difference, is that there's no, ifs and buts, whereas it'll always be considered a secondary series when it's just women, and most of the women don't really want to race that way. But the real advantage, if there is a plus, is the fact that they're connected to Formula One. They're going to have Formula One colors. They're going to be noticed around the world. And more importantly, for Chloe especially, and all of the girls involved, is that they're going to be integrated into that Formula One team and learn what it takes to actually see and hear and have the headphones on to what it takes to be in Formula One. So when we finally do break that glass ceiling, that girl, whether she's Chadwick, whether she's Chloe, will be ready.
Yeah. And it's an age-old dilemma, right? And do you have a separate series like this? But at least it'll have every chance, like you said. And like Andy P says on YouTube, he says, F1 Academy will be more successful because it's got Liberty's backing and geared for younger drivers. And you guys are both saying the same thing. Yes, we'll find out, because they'll give it as much momentum as they can. And Landon, what do you think about the whole, females in racing? I mean, if you were lined up against them right now, I mean, you guys have got tons of mechanics and team members in the Toyota Series right now, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like everyone's saying, we've got a bunch of mechanics as well, and engineers even. So it's really good to have that company around. And I think that F1 Academy is fantastic for the exposure, especially in the early stages, because I'm in the early stages as well. So exposure is so crucial to the beginning. So I think that's a really good step for them in that aspect. But I can definitely see where the women are not wanting to have their own position on the side. They want to be in the main set of competition. So I definitely see that. And like we've talked about, Chloe has really strong chance against the men, just as she proved last year here in Taupo. So took the win from start to finish, no questions asked. So she's got the talent. She's getting the exposure from F1 Academy, and I think that's perfect to boost your career. So it'll take them the next step to move out of that. But initially, it's a good place to start for them.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see.
John, one last little footnote. It's starting to proliferate. Sophia Flores, you remember the girl that crashed at Macau?
Yep.
Well, she took part in Macau again. She became 11th last year. She's now part of one of the junior academies. And Tatiana Calderon from Colombia, who raced here in Giles Motorsport a few years ago. She was a reserve driver for a while. So it's happening. It's starting to happen. And Jamie Chadwick is definitely, and Chloe Chambers are leading the way in many ways.
Yeah, well, as usual, Paul has a hilarious statement. It says, if only Jonathan could have looked more relaxed during his interview with her. You were very relaxed, Jonathan. He's a pro, Paul. He's been doing this since 19...
I'm in New Zealand in a nice swanky hotel. What do you want, Paul? I'm trying to live the dream.
Yeah, and a few days on the beach before that.
I just live like it.
Yeah. All right, we're almost out of time, man. I wish we had more time to talk about this Laguna Seca story. Maybe we'll do this next week. Have you heard about this,
What is it?
Jonathan? Laguna
No,
Seca.
tell me. I'm around
There's
the world.
there's people suing the people that have moved in since Laguna has been operating. They've moved there, and now they're complaining about the noise, and they're suing them. It's like, what the heck? Why did you move there if you moved next door to a racetrack?
You know what's going to stop that in its tracks?
What?
Guess who lives there?
Who?
Eddie Lawson and Wayne Rainey.
Ah.
They'll party till they're blue in the face and get rid of all that because they're not going to let Laguna Seca close. Don't worry.
Well, there's more to that story because it's public land. I thought it was if they'd owned the land. Anyway, well, we'll get into that next week because we are out of time. I want to start by thanking you, Landon Matriano Lim, down there racing in the Toyota Series, the Formula Regional Oceania Championship. And I want to wish you the best of luck. And thank you for coming on the show. And we really appreciate it, Landon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me, and I get to deal with him over here as well as in the States. So it's all good fun.
Well, you guys don't have too much fun. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll talk to you next Sunday night.
Happy trails.
See you guys.